What is up, fight fans? This is Good Guy Rick coming through with a last-minute episode of the MMA Cheat Sheet, a quick and comprehensive guide into the biggest fight cards and opinions on the latest news in the world of mixed martial arts. We got a big fight card here as the crown jewel in the world of combat sports. The heavyweight championship is on the line. Here we go. We got UFC 260 tonight. Francis Ngannou taking on Stipe Miocic in a rematch from their fight, I believe, 3 years ago. Crazy statistic in that, obviously since then, Stipe has had 3 fights, all against Daniel Cormier in that trilogy they had. So we'll see how that, fares for him in the last 4 years or so, 5 years. He's only fought the same, 5 guys. But let's start with the bottom of the card here. First, we got Abu Azaitar taking on Marc-Andre Barral. Really like Azaitar. WSOF, never die, for all those World Series of Fighting fans like myself. But, I think he's going to give MAB opportunities to throw some offense at him. He's a durable fighter. He's got some good counters. I see him winning maybe a tight decision here. Both men have the chance to, of course, put the other one out, but I'm taking Azaitar by decision. Then we have Omar Morales taking on Shane Young. I've been an Omar Morales fan since that brutal war he went to against Benito Lopez. That's pretty much it here. I think Omar Morales will be too much for him. I can't believe this man cuts down to 145, but is assuming he had a decent weight cut, he should be able to handle Shane Young here. Next, we have Modestas Bukauskas taking on Michael Oleksiejczuk. There we go. Oleksiejczuk by knockout. He is an undersized 205er. Actually, both these men are. I think, it would do both of them good to maybe go down to 185. But here at 205, I think this should be a firefight with Oleksiejczuk getting the W. Then we have Jared Gooden taking on Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov. Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov he's got the name. It's Khabib's cousin, training partner for life. Basically brothers growing up together. But and he should have enough to take care of Jared Gooden here, who's a good fighter. Big at the welterweight too, very long reach. And if Nurmagomedov stays standing with him too long, I think Gooden has a chance to knock him out, because Abe is just not. He's been finished a couple times by submission to some fighters that are not quite to his caliber, or at least at the time. With his wrestling background, you would think he would be dominant in those positions, but opportunistic fighters can take advantage of him. But we're going to take a little Nurmagomedov here to get the W. Next up, we're at the featured prelim. We got Alonzo Manifield taking on Fabio Sharon. Sharon is the last current LFA light heavyweight champion, getting a short notice call-up with William Knight falling out. I've been a big Alonzo Manifield fan. I thought he was going to be a really good prospect in the 205 division. It just hasn't panned out for him. That being said, I think this is a chance to get his career back on track. I wish Fabio wasn't coming into the UFC just yet, because he looked great in his LFA title fight against Myron Dennis, former tough vet Myron Dennis, who was in the season that Andrew Sanchez won it all. I think it was season 23 with Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Claudia Goldelha as the coaches. In a couple of years, I could see Fabio Sharon beating Manifield here. But I do think Manifield's size and physicality, he's going to come out of the gate like a bull, go for the finish. And if he doesn't get it early, watch him to fade late, and then Fabio's really dangerous. But we're going to go with Alonzo Manifield here. I'm going to stick with him on this one. First pay-per-view fight, we have Kama Worthy taking on Jamie Malarkey. Kama Worthy should win this fight, but this is a, 2 guys kind of middle of the pack at the lightweight division. Kama Worthy should be able to put him away. Sometimes he gets a little too complacent in these fights, but I do see Worthy here getting the good finish. Next, we have Jillian Robertson taking on Miranda Maverick in a women's flyweight fight. This fight was rebooked from a couple weeks ago, actually, or maybe a fight card earlier this year, at least. Want to pick Jillian Robertson. I really like her game. Young fighter. I think both of these fighters could be around this women's flyweight division for a long time. But give me Miranda Maverick. I think she'll grind out a hard decision or maybe a TKO finish. But Robertson's tough, got the submission game, so it's not going to be an easy night out to the office for Miranda Maverick. Next up, we have Thomas Almeida taking on Sugar Sean O'Malley. And though I really do appreciate, some of the knockout Sean O'Malley is giving us from his, he's basically the poster boy for the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series, at least that first season. But I'm calling the upset here. For some reason, I think the most likely scenario is O'Malley getting the first round knockout because Almeida is a bit of a glass cannon. But I think the Terminator Tom is going to survive and hit Sean with some leg kicks and land on him. I don't know if O'Malley's head, is in the best headspace right now. Rumor has it that he was telling people not to bet on him because he, wants some pressure removed off him, which is, for the guy that was all in the media early on, it's kind of a stark change of pace. But I would not be surprised, like I said, if he gets a quick finish here over Almeida. But we're going to go with Thomas Almeida and what could be fight of the night here. Finally, we have the co-main, Tyron Woodley taking on Vicente Lucay. Former champ Tyron Woodley. Ooh, this is one of those, I'm not going to pick him. I'm picking Vicente Lucay. He's from the same camps, that produced Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. So maybe that camp has figured out Tyron's game at this point, but nothing that Tyron showed us in his last 3 fights since losing the belt, and that fight included, would lead you to believe he could win this fight. Just haven't seen the offense from him. Not having the confidence to pull the trigger. Lucay is not going to have that problem. So even though he's kind of been more of a journeyman, up and comer, I think this is where Lucay maybe gets a statement win here as he turns his sight on the top 5, and maybe Tyron Woodley thinks about fighting in a different organization or, hanging the gloves up and focusing more on, some of like the TMZ show he had or some of his other opportunities in Hollywood. He's one of the most disrespected champs in all time, I would say, from the UFC machine itself. So it sucks to see it go this way, especially when he was on top of the world with that Darren Till finish. But like I said, rooting for him. Just haven't seen enough to pick him in this one. Stipe Miocic, the heavyweight GOAT in the UFC and possibly of all time now, against Francis. Miocic versus Ngannou 2 is a huge fight. Not only do we have two, behemoths coming at each other that both just love throwing the leather, but, we also have the Francis, the continued development of Francis Ngannou here, because, he started his MMA training within this last, decade, so the experience he's gotten at the highest level over the last 4 years since their last fight, is basically double the high-end experience that he's had to date. Whereas Stipe, he's aged these years after a couple wars with DC too, where he got, knocked out in the first round in one of them. I'm very nervous and tempted to pick Francis because of his power. Nervous for Stipe, that is, that he's going to, get clipped early and finished because, again, no one has that Deontay Wilder type power in the UFC at the level that Francis has. Rumble Johnson is the last person, I think, to carry as much one hitter quitter power. Mark Hunt, maybe as well, but I just believe Stipe still has the tools. He's coming in a little bit lighter, to help keep him fast. He's going to try and wear Francis down, a lot of takedowns, and ultimately secure a control that way, whether it's on the scorecards or if he gets a chance to mount Francis and maybe get the ref to step in on the TKO finish. But Don't see that happening. I see this one going the distance, but I would not be surprised at all if Mr. Ngannou landed that frickin' home run hitter and took Stipe out of it here. Should be a good card. It's really top heavy with this one fight. A huge loss to it, losing Volkanovski versus Ortega, and then Johnny Walker versus Jimmy Crute. It was a lot more stacked when it had those fights on it, but hopefully we'll see those rebooked soon, as well as a couple of the Jessica Penne fight and the Blago Ivanov fight as well that fell through. But please follow me on Twitter at GoodGuyRick, RIC. Also on YouTube, where if you would please subscribe, like the video, and let me know who you got tonight.